joins a bit late or something, or even if one of you all needs to drop off a bit early, I'll make sure to distribute the recording afterwards. Yeah. Maybe we'll just wait a couple more minutes and then we will get rocking.
Thank you, Josh.
Oh, of course. Thanks for joining. This is super fun. 82 roasts in, nice. We'll talk about this during the talk, but has everyone discovered the AI tool Marv? That's going to exist in your Link mobile app. And it's a relatively new addition, but yeah, you can sort of type in any question that you might have and it'll pull from the knowledge database and give a really good answer to every question I've needed to ask. It's pretty cool.
That's amazing. We didn't know about that. We have a few questions, but I think we can discuss that at the end, or
that would be great. Yeah. I will. Thank you so much for joining. And yes, the Marv is a really cool tool. And we will make sure to address your questions. But yeah, I do want to get rocking with Jerome from Nucleus Coffee Tools here soon. Okay, I think we're at a pretty stable point of folks who have joined the call. So let's get started. Thank you for joining us, everybody. My name is Josh. I am here in Durham, North Carolina. I do sales and marketing with GH Grinding and Brewing Solutions. So we are the U.S. importer for the Link roaster from Nucleus Coffee Tools. And yeah, Nucleus Coffee Tools has been fabulous to work with. There's lots of creative, fun stuff that we do together. In fact, at Expo this year in Houston, we will once again have the Nucleus Coffee Tools crew in our booth. So that will be booth 515, if you want to jot that down, GH Grinding and Brewing Solutions. We're going to be near the Roaster Village, actually. But yeah, please come see us if you're going to be at Expo. Again, there will be some really fun stuff happening around the Link in our booth. Yeah, so that's sort of an introduction about myself and about GH Grinding and Brewing Solutions. Again, we're here in Durham, North Carolina. We distribute many different grinder brands and brewer brands and milk frother brands, but also the Link roaster. We pride ourselves in after sales and service. So yeah, you can certainly come to us if you have questions about needing parts or knowing how to install parts or just really any questions. We have a tech team here on staff, always ready to pick up the phone. And we sort of pride ourselves in that personal connection that we have with our customers. And so we're doing this webinar because we really want our friends out there who already have the Link to understand more about it. And we like to bring in, folks from the actual manufacturer. So that would be Jerome today from Nucleus Coffee Tools. And he's going to give us some really, really awesome insights about, his experience with, working with competitors all over the world, sort of dialing in their roasts very precisely on the Link. And some good insights too about the latest software version that has come out actually this month, which is Addis 4.1. Obviously, like I said, Jerome, has experience working with coffee competitors around the world. He is a competitor himself, has had lots of great success in the Canada Brewers Cup competition. And, he's been a barista. He's a roaster for Cafe Ona. And yes, he's a brilliant coffee professional. So thank you, Jerome, for offering your time and for doing this webinar with us.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for the introduction, Josh. Everybody, it's amazing to see all your pretty faces. Really excited to share this seminar with you. For context, I'm based over in Melbourne, Australia, so it's a good morning for me, but good afternoon or good evening, no matter where you are in the world. I'm going to get started straight away into the PowerPoint, and we can kind of go as we go. Everybody can see this, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You can see this all good, right, Josh? Yeah?
I can. Yes.
Yes. Cool. Amazing. So as Josh was saying, we're going to go through a little seminar presentation that I put together specifically on roasting for coffee competitions. Reason being is they have the brewers and barista competition happening very soon over in North Carolina. So I wanted to do a little bit of a cool, quick summary on how I go about utilizing the link for it. Little quick introduction for myself. My name's Jerome. As Josh mentioned, I'm an experienced competitor. I've competed many times out of Canada, but as well as I've coached many different national winning competitors and world winning competitors. And I work as a roaster as well. A part of Nucleus, I work on sales, support, and product development. As Josh mentioned, I will be there over in Houston, SCA. So please come by and say hello if you are around. And today we're going to look at different roast plans, how to use different approaches, how this may translate to the score sheet, and then we'll do a little Q&A at the end. Now, what is the link? For some people that aren't aware, we launched this over in 2023. It was a partnership between us and Cafe Logic. Cafe Logic is a manufacturer based in Dunedin, New Zealand. Always like to say that they're at this area. It almost looks like the Hobbits down at the very, very south. Basically wanted to work with these small team of individuals who are engineer background and really want to bridge the gap between advanced roasting technology and accessibility to allow people to be able to roast so many different styles of coffees, no matter where they were. Our initial target market was for coffee producing countries because we found a really big hole in the market of actually going to the origin and being able to roast your samples on the spot there and be able to make smarter buying decisions. From there, it's been widely adopted by many professionals, a lot of home users, competitors, and lots of roasters globally. So that's kind of a little bit about us. Now, components of the link system, as Josh was mentioning, there's a link app. This is where you can receive custom profile recommendation. You can incorporate the density measurement tool, which it comes with, and basically is an algorithm profiling tool using AI. This allows you to get to your sweet spot 80% of the way there before ever roasting your coffee. To me, it's very important to understand a lot of different elements of your coffee before you actually start roasting. Link Roaster, it's a fluid bed roaster, and it can work independently. So you can use just the roaster itself, or you can connect it to Link Studio, which you see here on the right. This allows you to do live roasting, make crazy profile edits, download firmware updates, and etc. It's pretty straightforward, but we constantly update it to get the best results possible. Now, key things about the link roasting, what makes it really unique. First of all, it starts at ambient temperature. This means that there's no preheating or a drop temp. For all my roasters there, they'll know that typically we have to start and preheat the roaster, so you'll see it drop down and come back up. This is what makes the link system very unique. It was through lots of trial and error that we're actually able to do this, but it allowed us to really have a smooth power curve and better roast accuracy. Within the actual link system as well, you'll see that we've created it so that you have an expected first crack window of roughly 30 to 45 seconds. When using the app properly and the density measurement, you'll get to your sweet spot a whole lot faster. Now, some key considerations for competitors. With traditional roasting, many batch sizes are anywhere from 1 to 30 kilos. Now, as many competitors know, competition coffee isn't cheap at all. Typically, it all starts at 100 USD a kilo, or sometimes even a pound. It can go anywhere up to like $900 to $1,000. Now, playing with these coffees is not the easiest thing to do, and using a variable batch size of using the link of anywhere up to 50 grams up to 100 make it a lot more better, I guess you can say, because you're going to be able to play with many different representations, tailor in the roast profile to your specific brewing technique as well. And then nature behind it is because the coffee aging, because it starts at ambient temperature, there's a rapid application of CO2, meaning the flavor peak is much faster than a normal gas roaster. Gas roaster, you'll always try it straight off roast and you'll be like, oh, this needs a little bit of time. And depending on how you roast your coffee, whether it's a lighter or a darker expression, lighter, for example, sometimes it takes up to 30 days for a coffee to really hit its peak, versus link, you can really taste it straight off roast and it only just gets better from there. You can have it 5 days off roast, 6 days off roast. I've worked with many different competitors that have used it like 24 hours off roast all the way up to like 21, 24 days off roast. So allows you to really find your peak in terms of where the coffee is going to be. But as well, you're able to travel with the roaster, whether you're at the actual competition, whether you're somewhere else, like in North Carolina, where those Brewers Cup's going to be. You can literally do it in your hotel room. The roast on the go style allows you to collaborate a little bit better with your friends and with your coffee professionals that are around you to get the best coffee selection, but as well the best roast approach that you can for it. The system was designed so that you can do it yourself, so that you have basically Sam, who's my colleague who helped create the link, and myself, his brain basically within it. So you're able to be like guided through that entire experience. Now, how can it benefit these competitors? Big thing is consistency. Basically, as soon as you lock in your profile, you can basically have it do the exact same thing on a repeatable basis. And if you're doing 10 roasts back to back to back, I guarantee you won't be able to tell the difference between batch to batch. There might be different first crack by 1 to 2 seconds or up to 5 seconds, but honestly, you're going to have quite incredible results, ensuring that you have like quite a good consistency, especially with sensory outcomes being very important within the score sheet. Within it, you're also able to have this replication where you can actually send it over to somebody who you're helping coach or practice or etc., so that you're able to practice using that same exact coffee that you will have on stage as you are practicing as well. Now, this has been very successful worldwide. As Josh was saying, just last year in Chicago, we had Martin Wolf, who we helped coach and roast for. He ended up winning the World Brewers Cup Championship. I've integrated his profiles into the link system as well. But there's many people nationally, and as we gear up for Worlds over in Jakarta in a few months' time, there's going to be like close to 2/3 of the competition on link currently, which is really cool. And what we utilize a lot is AI. AI is kind of the way of the future, as we all know. It kind of makes our life easier, but always love to have that human touch to it. And that human touch is you choosing your coffee, choosing your style and your density to be able to understand how you want to roast your coffee. Now, a little bit about Martin's journey. How we came about it is basically he decided to use a coffee from Lost Origin over in Panama. It's a good friend of mine, Franz, who helped pick off the coffee from him. The coolest thing about Martin is that when he actually went to Chicago, he came with this whole backpack brick that he organized and got sent. But he actually never tasted his coffee before he actually got to Chicago. That's something very unusual, is that people normally dial in their roast, they understand where it's going to be, and then they make their transit. They either roast back at home, or they'll come there and try and mimic that same exact roast approach. Now with Martin and I, we spent close to 2 hours really dialing in that roast. He had a very unique brewing technique where he was using an Oria V3 Seabreeze filter paper, which is quite a fast flow, and a drip assist on top. So we needed to mimic certain results to maximize the sweetness and acidity. So I used a lot of the density algorithm, of course, but then I started to tailor a little bit around it. And for reference, I was using a CPAC filter, and then I just made some adjustments into it to have like earlier first crack so that we can get like this nice acidity structure, but as well a little bit of a longer development to maximize the sweetness. Now, creating this perfect roast was a very cool representation of what the link can do. We roasted it that next day, and that's exactly what he used on competition day, which was 7 days off roast. And you guys have the lucky ability as well now to use Martin's WBRC profiles that you'll see under filter. I highly suggest using this kind of profile set if you're ever brewing anything on a flatbed dripper. Now, where to start? This is like the hard question for a lot of people. Now, there's probably lots of brewers, there's barista competitors, there might be some people wanting to eventually make the jump over into it. The key thing to understand is your coffee, first of all. You want to understand what kind of processing you're doing, what size you're doing. The Gesha variety, for example, is a very, very commonly used within competition, and they typically have a bigger screen size. And automatically within the link, once you choose a bigger screen size, it will tell you that you need to have a faster oscillation. That's because those bigger beans will be a little bit harder to move. And obviously your origin will vary many differently. If you're using a Colombian Gesha versus a Panamanian Gesha versus an Ethiopian Gesha, all of them have different characteristics, what they can do. Next thing is, what do you actually want to achieve? Do you want to be achieving something that's more for espresso, more for filter, or do you want something that's kind of that in between, the Omni space, which I'll touch on a little bit later. With all these kind of profiles, you're able to like kind of choose your rabbit hole, and I will kind of break down each of those profiles. Now, roasting for competition obviously is very different from roasting from day to day. A lot of people consider the score sheet in mind and what it prioritizes, what it rewards, and try to articulate a coffee that represents that specific way. Now, translation to the link. How does this actually translate? So we have 4 cupping packs. You're going to see this is sometimes this can be quite overwhelming, but once you actually understand the system, it's like quite cool and unique within itself. So within this, we have over 1,000 different profiles now, and we have it from a cupping, Omni, filter, and espresso. If people are wondering what I'm saying when I'm saying Omni is just in between a filter and espresso. It's very commonly used on a retail space for a lot of people that are doing single origin based coffees. They can offer it that it can be brewed as a filter or as an espresso. Now, within the cupping range, we have over 5 different packs, varied of development percentages and different power curves. Cupping is something that's very good to assess coffee, and sometimes it can be really good for a brewer's cup as well if you need to have more aromatics within your coffee. The next one is filter. We have the 5 packs as well as the Martin pack that I was mentioning before. I'll kind of break down these packs a little bit later. Next, we have espresso, A to F, so we have 6 of these ones. And Omni, which is like the newer space that we did. Initially, we only had 1 Omni space, but I wanted to expand it out a whole lot further because I saw that there was a whole lot more potential for the Omni space for users to take advantage of. Now, let's look at the cupping one as an example. We have 5 different packs here. So we have A, B, C, D, and E. Now, you're going to notice, and you're probably wondering, what do all these packs different mean? If you're wondering for like a simple context, each of them represent a different development percentage. For me, D, it would be like the best default if you're wanting to get a best international representation of what most people will look like for coffees. For me, I've noticed that a lot of people in the States, they love to go with this in between a B, from a D all the way to a C, depending on where your palate really sits. The best thing is you can really develop it to the standard of which you would like. Some people might even want to push it a little bit further, up to the 20%. There's no pack to me which is wrong. It's all about the coffee that you enjoy most. Now, what this means, biggest difference-wise, is the ones that with the lower development percentage, I've pushed a little bit longer for the Maillard. That means you're going to get more of a sweet, fuller type expression with a little bit less development versus the E-Pack in particular. It's using a lot more development, so like the sugar browning, to be able to maximize this roast potential. You can definitely refer to this after, as Josh was saying, there's a lot of screen recording, there's a lot of data all in here that you guys can kind of go through forward, but I'm just going to go through each kind of pack in particular. All right, the next one is filter. We have, as I mentioned before, A through E again, and for World Brewers Cup here. Now I'm going to go a little bit more into this one because I know we have a few brewers in the room. Now, if I'm talking about what I like to utilize within a brewer's competition and break down each pack, I'll kind of go through it. A is for like someone that's really wanting to maximize a lot of sweetness, but as well something that is quite clean. I find this one to be very, very good if you have like quite a floral dominant style coffee, a lot of wash coffees, or it can be a simple natural process. This will allow you to achieve really good results. A good starting point for this one would be anywhere from 50 to 55 seconds development for the score sheet. Filter B, another one, you'll see that it has one of the lowest temperature increases to time ratio, which is here at the top right corner. This one for me is really good if you have any anaerobic naturals that are a little bit more funky. Even if you go towards the co-ferment or these crazy experimental process style coffees, this one will be really good for it because you're able to have like a longer kind of Maillard expression, but shorter development, which can really maximize this coffee. It's probably one of the most commonly used profiles that we see within the brewer's cup. Filter E, this one was actually created when Sam and myself were over in Canada preparing for my brewer's cup routine. I really wanted to use filter C like how we did before, but as well make something that was a little bit more aromatic. You're going to notice that filter E is probably going to be the most aromatic style of coffee that has that fuller expression outside of the cupping pack. It's something that I would highly suggest looking to utilize, especially if you're losing points on aromatics. Filter C is probably the all-around number one that people probably use. It's really good for any kind of cone drippers, any ratios between 1 to 14, 1 to 16. It seems to be quite a sweet spot, just about finding your exact space. It's very, very good if you're using something like a coarse grind size. When I say coarse, I'm talking like 800 plus microns when you're doing that. And then finally, Martin's Brewer's Cup one as well. This one in yellow. This one is amazing if you're doing anything like on a Kalita style or on Aurea or April. I find that these work very, very well. Then you just have to figure out your balance of how much development you want for it. Amazing. The next one, which is Omni. Omni is probably the most exciting space that I'm been excited about recently. Omni only used to be one specific profile, which was this red one. And recently with the ADIS 4.1 update, as Josh mentioned, we opened it up a little bit more so that we could have many different roast plans with lower heat increases to allow people to have very good results, whether it be for espresso or for filter. A very good one that I have been recently using a lot for Brewer's Cup still is Omni D. Omni D is incredible for wash coffees because it allows coffees to crack at a much lower temperature, and you can have quite a longer style development. I find that this works incredibly well with like some floral wash geshes. Aging does take a whole lot longer for this. This one would be like somewhere from 7 days plus is where I would actually start looking at it. But the cool thing about it is you can do like a lower style development off of for filter at like 8 to 9%. But as well, if you wanted to push it for espresso, you can do up to 16%, and you're going to still get just as great results. Then if you wanted something just right in between, you can go with that 10, 15%, and you're going to have something that's very versatile, which you can use both as filter or espresso, especially if you're like a home user. I would highly suggest trying to play a little bit more within this Omni space. Then for espresso, for those competitors out there, if you're using like a wash style coffee, I would definitely suggest playing with the Omni D space and the Omni E. Omni E is pretty amazing if you have a crazy anaerobic natural, something that's quite fruit focused. Extend that development to that 130, 140 mark, and you're going to get some quite amazing results. We just recently had a competitor over in Italy that I just helped a couple weeks ago. He used Omni E and was developing at 1 minute 30, 1 minute 40, and he just came second in his recent nationals. Awesome. Now Espresso is a cool workspace that I've most recently worked on to create kind of 2 user selection base. So within it, when you're using the app, you're going to find one. It prompts you, and if you wanted to have something that's more vibrant, lively, and soft, when I say vibrant, I'm saying something that's more acidic, more bright, but has very soft in texture, meaning it's like a little bit thin, but it could be a very, very good representation of it. Still, it's very commonly used in Europe and Scandinavian countries, in Japanese countries as well. And then we have the other one, which is D, E, and F, these are more focused on depth, balance, and texture. These would be the packs that I'd be more suggesting for espresso when I'm talking for brewer's cup competition. For a barista competition, because within the barista, sorry, a lot of people look for that texture. They're always trying to spot what's wrong with the coffee first before actually tasting the coffee when it comes to the actual judges. So you want something that's very full, together, balanced, flavor clarity on point. If I'm comparing the three of them, you can see the different temperature increases and the different first crack times. If I'm trying to choose like what style I'd probably start with, I'd be looking at, if you're using a wash style, you'll see that there's a common theme here. Use Espresso D. And if you're doing a little bit something like a honey, I would look at E, and F possibly if you're doing like a crazy anaerobic natural. It just allows you to have like a longer Maillard on some of those coffees and like a longer development. You're going to notice that all these coffees crack at quite a lower temperature. I would suggest if you're very new to the link system, start with cupping, just because the first crack will be a whole lot more audible at the higher temperatures, and then eventually work your way into espresso because it'll be a little bit more softer, and it will happen a whole lot later. Awesome. Now, as Josh was mentioning with the mobile app, I would highly, highly suggest, especially if you are a competitor, to utilize absolutely everything that we have in here. A big one is advanced dial-in. Advanced dial-in is available in that main settings once you hit the profile selection. This allows you to enter in the profile that you actually use. So here's a good example where I was using filter A. The crack was happening a little bit early, for example, just right when your first crack happened and your start profile. Click done, and the AI will automatically suggest a profile in which you should go to get the first crack within such a good range. The next one that I would suggest, especially with competitors, is manual profile selection. This allows you, once you click onto this prompt here, you can choose exactly what profile that you did. So no matter what density measurement that you get, it's going to give you the specific results for it. So if you're choosing something like a filter and filter B, no matter what your density is, it will automatically choose that. For background context, the AI, we've worked with over 5,000 plus different coffees and different data entries that we've got: density, moisture, temperature, stability. There's so many key variables that we looked at basically to understand what different densities, different varieties, and different screen sizes react to a specific coffee. And that's how all of these formulas are created within Link. So that's why sometimes you'll notice that you might get, for a cupping, you might have D will probably be like the most common one, but if you start getting a little bit higher in density, you're going to notice that it might go to a cupping A or cupping D or possibly even cupping E. That's because those specific densities that we notice need a little bit more TLC to them, more a little tender loving care, because some of them, they need a little bit longer in it. And if it's an older style coffee, you're going to notice, like older crop style coffee, you're going to notice that it'll have like a lower density. So it's probably going to suggest a profile that is much longer. Now, the other stuff you can do is customize your preferences. You're going to notice this isn't available in that preferences menu. These are really cool to utilize if you're focusing on specific things. So Arabica Advanced is very good if you're wanting to get specific results for Arabica. That's just going to allow you to choose your different screen sizes, which will prompt you to either go higher or lower with band adjust. This allows you to get the ideal oscillation that you want to get out of your coffee. The next one, which I use quite a lot for competitions, is all species. Turn this mode on, and you're going to be able to get access to Liberica, Stenophilia, Eugenioides, Racemosa, all these crazy new species that are involved with coffee. A big one that's very commonly used in barista is Liberica. Liberica is like this really big bean. It comes from Malaysia, Indonesia. I've seen it over in Fiji as well. It's probably one of the most distinct tasting coffees that you'll probably ever taste. It's very big, but very good for milk. Another one is Eugenioides for Brewer's Cup. It was used actually for Matt Winton, who he helped coach in 2021 when he won Worlds. You'll get very, very, very good recommendations if you're using that. Advanced roast details will be very good if someone is wanting to understand what different batch sizes do, because if we're using a 50-gram batch size and a 100-gram batch size, there's going to be quite a big significant difference of what you should do. The AI will automatically suggest to you what profile that you should use depending on what batch range you're doing. And then finally, if you're doing a lot of Ethiopian style cuppings, I would highly suggest clicking onto this last one. It'll just automatically give you the best result for Ethiopian-based coffees, no matter what density you're doing. Finally, as Josh mentioned, there's that whole Marv AI. I really wanted to utilize AI even further and be able to connect with an even wider audience through multiple different languages. So I highly suggest going into the app and clicking onto the virtual assistant. You can ask it any questions from how's your day going, or specific questions about your link. If you're asking it, if you have some issues going on, if you're trying to understand how profile customization is working, and etc., this will be your best point of reference. Next thing definitely would suggest, especially with brewers and barista competitors, is really use the score sheets to really focus on your decision making, which categories reward the most, i.e. you'll see for barista that there's a lot of points that go down to presentation and a lot on your accuracy as well. So really focus on that. For brewers, really get a lot of people that you trust tasting your coffee and really figure out the best tasting notes that you can actually deliver. This will allow you to probably score a whole lot higher and can make the difference between a 2 to a 3, which can add up significantly. Then from there, you can also figure out what profiles will allow you to score the most. As I was saying, C is probably the best kind of all-rounder if you're doing like a V60 style, and then Martin will be like a little bit style if you're using like a flatbed. But if you're using something like an AeroPress, for example, something like a D-Pack might be really, really good for filter, because it'll allow you to have a longer Maillard and you're using immersion technique to be able to maximize what your coffee is. Another common one that I've seen recently is like the UFO. UFO I know is quite big over in Korea, but is well getting some traction, especially through the black and white crew that I've seen use it quite a bit. That one would be amazing on something like a filter A and filter B as well. Finally, I've left this open. Feel free to like scan it. These are some QR codes that go to some roast plans. So it breaks down those roast plans that I was talking about. So you can see screenshots of it. And this QR code as well goes to a lot of our YouTube channel, which allows you to go through further tutorial videos, because I'm sure a lot of home users might have some little questions that they want to do, figure out what density tube they're using, how do I do a density, and etc. This will be like such a good reference on top of Marv as well. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to Josh or myself. I kind of wanted to make this quick. I know I went a little bit longer than we wanted, Josh, but wanted to give them a very good representation kind of on everything. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble off a little bit there. And yeah, do we have any questions? Feel free to moderate it as well, Josh.
Cool. Yeah, man, thank you so much, Jerome. In particular, I think a couple of those pictures, diagrams that really showed each of the curves from the profile packs were, yeah, a great way to visualize that. I had not seen those, so that was really cool. And I hope all of you on the call got something out of that too. Do people want to, let's type into the chat perhaps, like maybe just say, yeah, raised hand. There we go. Let's do the raised hand, and we'll start with David here. So I will try to bring you on, David, or you can unmute. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes. Hi, how you doing?
Okay.
This is Jersey, working with David. But we have a question. Do you ever had issues with compatibility between Microsoft before? Because the software is not working really good with us. So
yeah, feel
we can
free to reach out. Feel free to reach out to Josh or I. The compatibility will be exactly the same with Microsoft and with Mac. I think it's a lot of just system preferences in the back end, which we can help you figure out exactly if there is any connection issues or anything. Sometimes there's some security preferences that are saved on anything that can really help for.
Okay, perfect. Also, do you have like a chart or something that we can use to help us to translate the information we did in the link into a bigger roster, like lowering?
Yeah, so the link is much different than a lot of like your traditional roasters, as I was mentioning before. But what I would start to get to know is if I am like a roaster, so I'm going to talk from a roaster's perspective. Like I work a lot with Dietrich and with Gießen. What I would do is start to understand some coffees and really play and start to understand what the temperature differences are between my link and between my roaster to be able to understand it. But the best ways in which I like to go around it is seeing how much longer Maillard reaction I need and how much development I actually need. Because what you're going to notice as well is while you're actually roasting, that the thing will start to sometimes dip and go up a little bit higher. This is going to be able to tell you straight away, because we have it within the link system, that we have this boost system that basically if a coffee starts to run away on you, it starts to dip straight away, so it stays on the roast. Or if the coffee's going down, we give it a little bit more energy. If you see these actually happening, you're going to know that this coffee is probably either going to run away on you or it's actually going to crash. So it's giving you a lot of detail of what's going to happen with the coffee when you actually translate it onto the roaster. But the biggest thing is understanding the difference between the two and really fine-tuning it from there.
Yes, totally. Our biggest issue right now is basically that we can't see the curve. So that's why I was asking for the compatibility, but I think that's gonna give you a bigger picture of what we're doing and how to translate that. Okay, thank you.
All good.
All right. And say your name one more time. Thank you for the question. What was your name?
Jersey.
Jersey. Okay. And who are you all representing, or where are you all located?
Mucaro Coffees in
Okay.
South Florida, Miami. Yeah.
Great. Thanks so much for joining.
Welcome.
Okay, let's take Kevin's question from Cool Beans. We have it in the chat here, I believe. So is there any write-up about the different profile groups and what they are suggested for? Like all of the great stuff you explained in a written form.
I haven't written anything. A lot of them is honestly like personal bias as well. Like from me understanding where these roasts will hit and stuff. A lot of people might have different results. I would suggest watching it over again, so to speak. But for me, I would honestly suggest, if you're trying to figure out what profile suits your specific style, is play with a bunch of different styles. Like in the beginning stage when I was creating these filters, I did A through E, and I was playing with so many different styles of filters, from a switch mechanism to a flat V60 to everything. So what I would do is really play with it yourself, but as well utilize some of those key aspects that I was saying. Was there any specific profiles or any specific brewing method that you want me to really focus in on for your question?
So that actually was not my question. That was somebody else's that put that into the chat.
Oh, so sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, no worries. But you can ask whoever it was that asked that question, because
It was another Kevin I can see, Josh. It's Kevin Porras.
Okay.
Are you here, Kevin Porras? Can you?
Yeah, he just chatted. Said it was just a human question. My question was about how did you say that in one of your first slides the aging of the coffee is different because of the way the CO2 reacts, or the way the coffee reacts in the link. How can we? Is there a way to translate that to a production roaster? So if it takes, I don't know, 7 days for the geisha, like you mentioned in one example, is that something that in a normal bigger roaster might take 3 to 5 days, 8 days? There's no real. I don't think there's a real good answer there. I'm assuming it just depends, right?
Yeah, it just depends. It's hard. It's very hard to mimic that CO2 kind of expression from the link, because it starts at ambient temperature, so it produces less CO2, meaning that coffee is less trapped with all those gases. But there's no real way. But like if I'm comparing it exactly, if you approach the coffee in a very similar way with cupping, you're obviously going to have a roast representation on a production roaster that will be very, very good within a shorter time window versus something that's like more catered towards that Omni or a filter D setting, which probably aging will be best 20 to 30 days off roast. But some of these roasts are really like catered more towards like a Scandinavian audience, towards Japanese audience, towards Australian. So I made it quite international. So there's no real concise answer to it, because there's so many roasters out there on the market and it's so different. But I would suggest if you wanted something that you can taste very, very quickly off a production roaster is to try and use that cupping approach, because even in like a roasting competition, which you'll see over in Houston SCA, if you guys are actually there, we're the official sample roaster for it as well. But if you're ever trying to see how they actually evaluate it, they're always doing it 24 hours off roast when it comes to like a bigger gas roaster, or in this case, they're using like Stronghold for their production roaster.
Got it. All right, cool. Thank you very much.
All good. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. I think next, is this you, Kara from Broadsheet?
Yes, it is. Hi.
Thanks for joining. Hi, how are you?
Doing all right. Thank you, Jerome, for the talk, and thanks, Josh, for the link.
Absolute pleasure.
We've had the link for about 280 roasts now.
Awesome.
And my question is more software related. At the moment, the computer-based software has you have to open a new window to compare multiple roast curves. Is there any plan in the future to be able to kind of overlay those or export them in any way?
Yeah, we're looking on that. We're just trying to, you can do it if you're not simultaneously roasting. If you are roasting, we try not to do it because you're feeding the thing too much data, but we are working in the background. If you are consistently roasting and you want to see like 10 different logs in which you just recently did, we're working on a way in which you can do that currently.
Awesome. Thank you.
All good.
Let's see if we have any more here in the chat. Oh, okay. Well, we have one question. Maybe I can answer this one. But maybe you can help me too, Jerome.
Yeah,
a question about maintenance and when you might need your machine serviced or looked at. You know, one anecdote that I'll mention is Sam Cora, the creator of this awesome roaster. He always likes to say that I think he's been roasting on the same one since before it was even launched and hasn't even really needed to do much to it. Is that right, Jerome? So in other words,
same vote for me.
You can let it rock for quite a while without worrying. Like even if that chamber becomes, you know, slightly coffee colored, you don't want it to be burnt, right? You don't want it to be anything to have burnt and turned black in there. But if it's like slightly coffee colored, you know, the creator of the link himself says, I can still roast awesome stuff here, and it's not tainting the coffee. And here we have Kyle from Black and White Roasters, who they are using this daily, weekly, 3 links, daily, weekly. They cup extremely frequently, and they have not needed service either. So we've found so far that it's really when you have a problem, you know, and if you suspect that you're having a problem, like the roaster is not behaving how you think it should be behaving, the way we confirm that is by, you know, looking concretely at the actual .nlog. So look at that log that's created on your computer, and pull it up and see if, you know, the actual curve is close to the projected curve. And if it's not, we can sort of diagnose issues from there. And we're here for that. So GH Grinding and Brewing Solutions, you all, I think, all have actually my email now, my personal email, but also support@ghgbs.com is our support email, and our phone number is out there as well if you want to give us a ring. So that's how it goes for support, and we keep parts in stock here in North Carolina, so that's good to know. All right, let's see if we have some more questions. We have a request for the PowerPoint. Perhaps we can figure that out at some point in time. So yeah, I don't know, Jerome, you and I can chat about that, and maybe I can disseminate to the email list at a later time. Okay. Export roast result. Is there a way to export roast results for storage off of the device?
Yeah, so you can save each of your logs automatically gets saved onto your computer. If you go into Link Studio, you can open up Roaster Sync folder and it'll automatically show you where all of your profiles have been saved, or not just profiles, not just your user profiles, but all your logs. You can easily just copy and paste that. You can delete them off the roaster and stuff. Recently, we created it with a new firmware that it compresses a lot of the files so that you don't really need to get rid of any files off the actual roaster as well. So if you're using the Addis 4.1 update and you have the latest firmware, it will compress these files because, as I said, we have 1,000 different profiles, and as well there's so many logs that come with it as well. So I have this compression system which you don't really will end up with any storage issues. I've roasted off the one roaster that I have here. It was sitting at like 5,000 roasts that it's done so far, and like there's been absolutely no issues storage wise or anything with it. But if you're ever wanting to send a profile to somebody, all you got to do is file extract profile from log, create your own name. You can say what you did to it, and you can send it anywhere internationally to somebody. Just note that if you are going to send it to someone that has like a 220 voltage versus the US, like North America, is sitting at 110, that their first crack will happen a little bit earlier than yours actually will. So just keep that in mind. It's only going to be like a 5-second difference, but it's just something worthwhile to mention.
Do we have any more questions right now? Okay. Barbara Jordan. Barbara, if you can unmute, can you tell us where you are joining us from and who you're representing?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm representing Liston Beisler Green Coffee Importers. We're in Miami, Florida as well.
Very cool. Thank you for joining us. Okay. Your question is, what is the lowest measurement of coffee density that the app will provide a profile for? That's a good question. Yeah, so that question, everyone here probably understands what that means, but when we have our density tube that comes with the link, Barbara's question is like, is there a coffee that's actually too light where if you fill up that whole density tube, that the app will not register that value? But yeah, can you speak to that, Jerome?
Of course. The grams wise, it should be 53. There should be like 99.9% chance that it probably won't happen. Majority of Arabica style coffees are going to be within the 60s. If you do come across that actually happening, if you have something that's lower, I'd be suggesting almost going and maxing out exactly what your profile is. So example, if you're doing it off of a cupping style, use like 219, but it should rarely happen because most Arabica style coffees and most crazy species that we have ranges anywhere from 55 grams all the way up to like 75, 76 grams, all the way up to like 80 grams, to be honest. So it's quite a big window. I would just say, just make sure that we're doing like the density protocol correctly, because if you do have something that is such a lower screen size and a lower thermal mass and density, sometimes the density measurement needs to be like bang on. And if you don't nail it, sometimes your coffee might crack a whole lot earlier than you anticipate.
Yeah, I asked because I was roasting an India Monsoon Malabar coffee.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you've ever seen those coffees, the screen size is huge and they're just paper light. And I couldn't get a density reading for those. So I had to just kind of like fly blind a little bit in a sense, but it worked out. It roasted great, but I was just wondering what the minimum gram size was there.
No,
Thank
for like
you.
a Monsoon Malabar, for example, I would be highly suggesting, if you're using within the cupping space, use something between 212 to 214. I know it's like a very different Arabica style of coffee, and that would be like my best suggestion to get like a good result and develop anywhere from 50 to 55 seconds if you're talking cupping.
Awesome. Thank you.
All good.
All right. The next question we have is from Eric. He's in Michigan with RGB Roasters. So when he creates a roast profile, and I'm guessing maybe either customizes it or maybe doesn't customize it, but wants to just name it something different than the end temperature in Celsius, which is how the profiles are named to begin with, that it seems that they have to start with a number. That's interesting because I did this for the first time a couple weeks ago, and I did not have that issue. But Jerome, what do you have to say?
Yeah, no, it shouldn't be like an issue. So if you are creating a profile, what I would do is suggest using like a template of whatever profile that you're wanting to mimic or imitate, and just click on File and extract profile from log. From there, it's going to ask you if you want to have the first crack happening at a different, like when I say have the first crack happening different, talking about that green window box, if you want it to be out of a certain area. From there, you click extract. When you're wanting to actually change the profile name, just go into about this file and just start typing in whatever you want. So you can call it ABC123. There shouldn't be any issues. The only thing that you need to make sure you do is when you're doing files save, once you actually save it as the same exact file on it, like say it ABC123. You shouldn't need to start with a number or anything for it. And Eric, if you need more help as well, I'm happy to help as well. Reach out to Josh and I can help troubleshoot if there is any ongoing issues with it.
Yeah, let's keep working on that one offline. That sounds good. Thanks for bringing that up, Eric. Okay, we have a question and an answer in the chat. Thank you, everyone. But yes, does the link need to preheat? It starts from ambient temperature, so there's no need to do that. Let's see, am I missing any questions? Anybody else? I'd be curious to know if we have any Brewers Cup or barista competition competitors in the house. If so, we have Kyle Ramage. And I know we did get some responses, some RSVPs from sort of an international crowd that we're competing. We're planning to compete. Very cool. Well, I wanted to announce one thing here, and it's the Facebook group, which is another really good resource for link users. So if you are on Facebook and yeah, you want to join, it's called Nucleus Coffee Roasters is the name of the group. So if you're on Facebook and you'd like to be part of this group, it's great. It's really like international link users, and you know, folks will bring up little questions that they have, and like immediately someone from around the world will answer with their experience. And then also it's moderated by is it mainly Jordan from Nucleus Coffee Tools, Jerome?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's moderated and by a Nucleus Coffee Tools representative. So you get the official answer pretty quickly as well if you pose a question in there. But yeah, I have found that to be a cool resource. So check that out if you like. All right, we have another question here. This is from Andrew. Andrew, who are you representing? Where are you joining us from? Home roaster, awesome. Will the link roasting software be available for iPad? Oh, so okay. You're looking for like the fully fledged kind of desktop software to be available on mobile. Okay.
Yeah, it's on a work in progress at the moment. We're still working on final details. We want to kind of restructure it if we are putting it onto the mobile as well, because we want it to be as user friendly and be able to change all these nuances that you're able to off the desktop. So it's a work in progress, and eventually it will happen. But currently all you can do is access the link app basically off your iPad, which will give you all the density and etc. as well.
Okay, we have another question from Barbara. Will the link case ever come with wheels? That's it.
Possibly, if the demand is there. The only problem is if we add on wheels, it doesn't make it compatible to be able to travel international wise in terms of carry-on. It will just go over the weight limit just a touch. For me, I've taken the link absolutely everywhere from Africa to Central America to all over the Asias, North America, with absolutely no issues with it as a carry-on bag. So if we do add on wheels, it's going to restrict that from happening, unfortunately.
Right. Well, I think that might wrap us up unless anyone has some last minute questions. Oh, good question from Kyle. Do we have any plans for a larger unit? That's from Kyle Ramage here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Yep.
So work in process right now. We're actually at early stage of R&D basically with it. We definitely want to make something that is a little bit bigger, that uses like the same heating technology, but it's definitely going to be something that's another 2-3 years away right now at the moment. But very excited for when it does happen. Ideally, we want to do it for reference. It's probably going to be like 800 to a kilo when we do it. I'm talking grams when I say that.
All right. Oh yeah, let me see. Thanks for the correction there if I got that wrong. What is the link sample roasters? I don't even know if I'm a link sample. Sorry, bear with me, guys.
Yeah, it's the link sample roasters users for the Facebook group.
Interesting. That's great. Okay. I'm actually not a part of that one, but I now will. I'm a part of another one, which Jordan also chimes in on that other one, but yeah, perhaps it was not started by Nucleus. So hey, it'd be good to be on both if you want to catch all of the conversations. I'm learning things too. Okay, this has been great. Thank you so much, everyone who's joined. Thank you so much, everyone who has picked up a link and explored with it and done great things with it. As you can tell from everything that Jerome said, I mean, it's kind of this amazing work in progress where it just keeps getting better and better. More and more profile curve options are, intentionally sort of loaded into the system, and it's really exciting. Yeah, and remember, if you are going to be at Expo in Houston, I hope some of you are, please stop by our booth, the GH Grinding and Brewing Solutions booth 515 near the Roaster Village. The whole Link crew will be there, or the whole Nucleus Coffee Tools crew will be there roasting on the Link. And yeah, come hang out, come ask more questions, and yeah, look forward to seeing you out there, hopefully. Thanks, Jerome.
Thank you so much, everybody, and look forward to seeing you some shape, way, or form somewhere else.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.